Okay, I would like to call the April 26th, is it?
Yes.
Meeting of Parks and Recreations to order. At this time, could I ask everybody to please stand for the pledge to the flag? And Jody, can you start us off?
Oh, she's driving.
Sure, that's all right. Right hand over your heart, folks. Here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, welcome everybody, and let's get on started here with our first action or item. Here is we have our city clerk, Anthony, who is going to administer the oath of office to our newly and reappointed commissioners. So, did he leave? There he is. You moved in there. I will turn it over to you. You can unmute your mic. Anthony, you're muted.
Thank you. Dieter Crawford, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, and Jody Diaz? Okay.
I'm here.
Thank you. I'm going to administer the oath to the both of you simultaneously, and I think somebody on the phone is not muted if they could mute themselves. Great, thank you. Okay, Dieter and
Anthony, did you
yes.
want to include John, or is this separate?
I'm going to do John separately since he's a newly appointed member. All right, Jody and Dieter, if you'll repeat after me. I, please state your name.
I, Dieter Crawford.
I, Jody Diaz.
Do solemnly swear or affirm.
Do solemnly swear or affirm.
That I will support and defend.
That I will support and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution
of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
To the Constitution of the United States.
To the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully.
And I will well and faithfully.
Discharge the duties.
Discharge the duties.
Upon which I'm about to enter.
Upon which I'm about
to enter.
Wonderful. Congratulations on your reappointment.
Thank you. Thank you.
And John, if you'll unmute yourself and repeat after me. I, please state your name.
I, John Moralia.
Do solemnly swear or affirm.
Do solemnly swear or affirm.
That I will support and defend.
That I will support and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
To the Constitution of the United States.
To the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And I will well and faithfully.
And I will well and faithfully.
Discharge the duties.
Discharge the duties.
Upon which I'm about to enter.
Upon which I'm about to enter.
And congratulations on your appointment to the Parks Commission.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I hand it back to you.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Appreciate you taking time to do this today.
Absolutely.
And you're welcome to hang in there if you'd like to. I would like to turn to the director for a roll call.
Chair Bowley,
Present.
Vice Chair Caldonado did let me know he was not going to be able to attend today. Commissioner Alcorn,
Present.
Commissioner Armstrong,
Here.
Commissioner Cohen,
Here.
Commissioner Crawford,
Here.
Commissioner Diaz,
Here.
Commissioner Goodman did send an email and say that she was not going to be able to attend this evening. Commissioner Martinez also let us know that he was not going to be able to attend today. Commissioner Lamort
Here.
and Commissioner Moralia. All right.
Could we have a report of the posting of the agenda, please?
The agenda was posted according to the city guidelines and procedures before Wednesday, April 21st, 2021.
Thank you. Okay, I believe everybody received a copy of the minutes from our March 22nd meeting in your packet. Do we have any additions, changes, corrections? Did we read them? Did anyone notice that the roster did not change in the number of meetings that we have attended?
Oh,
If you notice that, Cynthia, can you change that addition because everyone should go up one on their present date that's the same as it was the previous one.
I will update that.
Thank you. See, she plants things in there, commissioners, to see if you're watching or not.
Not true. I am in need of my secretary back. She'll be back.
That was my next point. We hope we have a senior secretary on staff here very soon. If there are no other changes, additions, can I have a motion that we accept the minutes with the additions as noted? Commissioner Cohan, second. Charlie? Lamort? All in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we would have probably, who was not here that would have to abstain from the last meeting? Just Commissioner Moralia. Okay, so one abstain. Okay. Do we have any correspondence, Director Alvarado?
Not today.
Not today. Do we have any public comment, or can I dispense with reading about public comment?
Nobody is in attendance for public comment today.
All right. We're up to item number 8. And a couple days later, I get the opportunity, which I thought I had Jeff Kors going to do an introduction on Justin. I didn't know he was going to be here to get it rewritten and up. So I would like to welcome our new city manager to our Parks and Recreations Commission meeting. I would like to turn it to you to give us some update, insight, and maybe a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I apologize that I couldn't join over the weekend. A moving truck literally arrived that morning, and I was in the process of offloading things. So really, the good news is my family and I closed on a house here in Palm Springs, and so we'll be living full time soon. My wife and kids are back in Sedona, Arizona, where I come from. I've got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. So Parks and Recreation is near and dear to my heart. Not only selfishly because I have kids, but frankly, I think one of the things that the council found appealing in my discussion of things like economic development is that it all starts with being an outstanding community. And while we need things like police and fire and people to fix the roads, nothing says community quite like Parks and Recreation. So I'm just really excited to get to know more about our program and the good work that you all are doing. I've been doing this for about 15 years. I managed 2 communities in Colorado before spending some time in Sedona, and just thrilled to be here in Palm Springs. I think things are all looking up at this point. The city budget is starting to rebound, so we'll go into next year really with most of our revenue sources equal to previous historic highs. The exception might be TOT, which of course is our largest source of tax revenue, but even that is really recovering. So I think that means we'll be returning to a more normal environment where we get to plan projects, where we get to invest in our team, where we get to start new things, and all of what makes this so fun, opposed to the opposite, which was the last year of shrinking and, you know, deferring maintenance and all of that stuff. So I think really good time to be here. I got a nice tour and walkthrough with Cynthia early on, and love her energy and passion. So just really happy to be part of the team and look forward to seeing what we can do together. And Mr. Chair, I think you're on mute.
All right, I'm sorry. Did you want, are you open to take some questions if we have any from our commission?
Absolutely.
Commissioners, this is our opportunity to learn a little bit about maybe Mr. Clifton can give us some suggestions on what areas he would like us to concentrate on first. Who would like to?
I'm happy to say that I don't have an agenda at this point. You know, it's just too early on, and I think problem solving and building community are things that happen in context of the community you're in. So while I've seen some neat things in places I've come from, I wouldn't want to presuppose that those things fit here. So I'm really anxious really to hear from you and Cynthia and our customers about what they value. I am a big fan of lots of different kinds of citizen engagement and outreach. And one of the first things that I would like to do is administer what's referred to as a national community survey, which is a template survey that asks a lot of questions about what people value in their community. It polls them on everything from their perceptions of safety and mobility, access to jobs, housing, and certainly has a whole section about recreation, the program offerings, the quality of parks, and those kinds of things. And I'd like to start to get my finger on the pulse by not only engaging with people who do this every day, but having those kind of really general mechanisms for people to provide input. And from there, I think it'll be a lot easier to start to develop really creative next steps. Again, I think this is a lot of where people define community. This is where a lot of the magic happens. So while it's easy to cut back in areas like parks and recreation when we have a major recession or a pandemic or whatever, I really believe investing in this area is not the thing you do when you have some money left, but I think it's the really special stuff that makes community what it is. So, you know, I think you'll find that I'm eager to support some of the big, bold ideas that I'm sure you have.
Wonderful. We've had some great ideas. It just, we understand it takes a little bit of time sometimes to get things moving, but we're quite happy with what we did in the last 12 months, and we hope to keep it going for the next 12 to 24 months and in the future. Commissioners, anyone want the question from the floor? Did we freeze?
This is what they refer to as the honeymoon period, where everyone goes easy on me. And then after a little while, we all become accustomed to one another, and then people really start to let me have it. So
we never seem to have that happen in this town, but I will turn to Commissioner Acorn, who has his hand up.
How you doing, Mr. Clifton? My name is Jerry Alcorn. I'm owner of Alcorn Adaptive. I do specialized adaptive bikes for people with disabilities here in Palm Springs. I got a shop, and I'm big into alternative paths to travel. And I've heard you did a good job in Arizona. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do here to the city of Palm Springs to help, you know, with alternate forms of travel, such as the CB Link, and trying to get other forms of travel out there for people with all sorts of mobility and ability issues. So yeah, just right now, letting you know, I'm happy what you've done before and hoping we can continue it here in Palm Springs.
Thank you. I'm a big fan of that. I've been a cyclist on and off for many years. My wife is a big runner. I do a little running as well. We love urban trails. You know, the system should accommodate everybody, and glad for what you do. I will certainly be an advocate for continuing to build out a system of infrastructure that works for every mobility type. And that's selfishly a big deal to me and my family because we like to walk. I found a house 1.6 miles away from City Hall. So short of maybe the 4 hottest months, I'll be walking to and from work most days.
All right.
Welcome to Palm Springs.
Commissioner Armstrong, I see your hand up. And as Commissioner Acorn did, maybe give a little bit of background on yourself so that our new city manager can get to know our background and our abilities here on the commission also. Commissioner Armstrong.
Oh, it's Travis. Okay, sorry, I'm driving, so move it up. Hi, I'm Travis Armstrong, and I've been on the commission. This is my second term, and before that I was on the Sustainability Commission, and I work for CAL FIRE. I have a question though. When you talk about this survey, one of the issues I'm involved with the dog park, and we'll talk about later on our agenda that they're reaching these different communities which are differently organized is really difficult at times. The dog park community, a lot of older people go there who may not attend meetings or participate in surveys compared to like our pickleball community that's great at showing up at meetings. So when you do this survey, how are you going to approach it where you actually get different communities so we actually get an accurate survey of what people think and want?
That's a really great question. So this National Citizen Survey is a random sample survey. It still does favor demographics that tend to respond more often, which is usually older populations compared to younger. But one of the reasons I like the survey tool is because while your population of people that will show up to a meeting or voice their opinion is really, really small, people that will respond and take a survey is generally larger and more representative of the whole. The organization that administers these, it's called the National Research Center, they also do some weighting and things like that. So they'll look at your demographics, and if the numbers are large enough, and they generally are, they're able to weight some responses differently based on the expected proportion of that group within a population. So age group is a really common one where they'll do that to make sure that younger populations aren't underrepresented, which is usually the case with these surveys. But the bottom line is that's also just one mechanism, right? We do that to get very good generalizable data so that the most active groups aren't the only voices. But on top of that, you do take open public comment and you do host creative forums. Some of them utilize technology, which tends to engage one group, while others you might deploy a system of charrettes because some people like to go to meetings and see something physically. So when it comes to planning and getting input, I think the more tools you use, the more voices you get. And what I have found, at least, is if you do enough of that, you feel pretty confident that you've got your finger on the pulse, that you understand really what's in high demand. But even then, you might have a minority group who's not very represented, and even if their demands don't come through, if there are special needs, so senior centers, transportation systems for people with different abilities, those are things that even if you don't get huge results, you do because of equity issues, because of fairness issues. So the survey is just more information, but it doesn't really dictate that you do one thing more than the other. It just helps create context.
Commissioner Lamort.
Welcome, Justin, if I might. My name is Charlie Lamort. I'm retired law enforcement in San Francisco. Came down here to and also from Chicago, so I came here to get away from the snow. I really like the snow up on the top of the mountain, and that's all. Interesting that we're all kind of talking about the same thing, as I thought the most important thing on this list we're going to talk later was really a survey. What we think we know what people want, but I think it's very important, especially with Park and Rec. What do they expect? And the other thing is, I want to let you know how wonderful Cynthia is. Even in the middle of COVID, there were programs every day for the kids. And some of them were very innovative. Some of them were by automobile. You show up and roll your window down. But there was not a week that went by that there wasn't a program for kids. And so I really want to applaud Cynthia. I think she's done a marvelous job. I think she's going to make your job easier. So welcome, and anything you need, please just ask.
Thank you, thank you. I am happy to hear that and not surprised, having met Cynthia just a couple of times. Not surprised at all. I love the passion, I love the excitement, and I think that's going to be invaluable not only for her programs, but for the rest of the team as we really try to build a sense of camaraderie and kind of interconnectedness in the things we do. So glad to hear that she's made the same impression on you guys that she did on me.
Any other commissioner have a comment that they would like to discuss, ask, mention? I'm going to tell you just a little, my background. This is my 5th year now on the Parks and Recreations Commission, and I was former business owner from Chicago. Just like you, no one's from Palm Springs except Peter Crawford. I think he is from Palm Springs. But the rest of us were all new here once, and you fit in right away. After 9 years, I think that I've been here, I feel like I've been here a lifetime. And I think you're going to enjoy it. I hope you have had a chance to see some of the activities and the projects that we have just gotten through in the last year that we're excited about. The restrooms in the park and the pavilion being changed around with acoustics and curtains and our air conditioning, gym floors and all that. And we've got a lot more from Saturday's meeting as to things we want to do. Are there any other comments that commissioners would like to ask? If not, I would ask you if you have any other comments that you would like to make to the commission before we move on to our next.
All I would say is please continue to be open with me with what you need and want, both in your capacity as commissioners and of course in your capacity as citizens. I'm here to serve.
Well, great. For the commissioners, some of you may not know, but over the past year while we were quarantined, we thought that money that Measure J was bringing in would be completely stopped. But we didn't realize that a lot of us stayed home and bought things on the internet, and that tax comes through Amazon, eBay, and all of that. And we still have some of that tax money coming in, which was a surprise to us. So not all the projects are going to get set on the shelf or the back burner because we're just moving right along. If there are no further comments from the commissioners, I'd like to thank our city manager, Clifton, for attending our meeting today and move on to our next area of staff reports, staff updates. And we will start with Director Schaefer. There, Facilities Fund Director Schaefer, can we start with you?
Yes, we can. I think the biggest update I have for you guys right now is we will be removing the restroom trailer from JOJ tomorrow morning. There's been some pretty serious vandalisms. Battery got stolen, the pump is broken, tanks are leaking, all the locks were taken. So we're going to pull that out and we're going to put in portalets with dual hand washing stations for the foreseeable future while we get the other trailer repaired. Beyond that, obviously, I think well, I should say obviously, some of you have noticed we have been doing some painting and staining of some different benches throughout the city, as well as some other upgrades and repairs. We are in the process, if we have not completed it, I think we have all of the parks fountains working now, and now we're moving on to the trails. So that should be completed. We're going to rent the specialized equipment we need for the Ballfield Lightings and the skate park lights. That should be happening at the end of this week. And we have, I think, 2 more weeks for the replacement swings and 8 to 10 more weeks for the new benches. And that's my update.
Very good. I had someone mention to me, Stacy, that the lights at Gateway Park, the big balls, the Gateway Park.
Bocce ball? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
about half of the lights are burned out there. I know your crew can't see them during the day when they go through there. But these people walk late at night or early in the mornings, and they sent me pictures of them.
We actually, they're not burned out. What we're having, I'm working with PD. We have a couple of folks that have taken up residence over there, and they are actually disconnecting wires and shutting, tripping breakers, and yeah. So we're aware of it. And actually, just so you know, we do have crews that come in pre-dawn hours and check all lights, and another couple of folks that are assigned to do it after hours. So. But it's always good to have it reported. But I'll have that system checked again.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Diaz?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm sure, I think Ann was trying to report it, Miss Ann, but Friday I was at the park for dance class in the late afternoon, early evening, and somebody went around and cut all the wires to the boxes to all the lights out there in Desert Highland Unity Center Park there. So if you
I filed a police report on Friday. They actually went through and cut the wires to the alarm system, the security system, and then all the wiring through all conduits, about $13,000 worth, 2,000 feet of copper wiring for all of the lights. So yes, we have a police report. We are actively working on that. That's going to be a significant repair.
Okay, and so then can I don't know if this is the right time to say, have we ever thought about putting in security cameras outside of our public community centers, like the Leisure Center or the James O. Jesse Center, for such reasons?
We do have cameras. The police department has access, and they are reviewing. There are some cameras in certain areas, not wide yet, but yeah, that's it. We did lay the infrastructure for that back in 2018.
Is she freezing for you guys too? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, good. So maybe there's video coverage of me doing dancing on the basketball court. That's fantastic news.
I'll make sure to make a video for you, Jody, of all your dance moves.
Okay, Commissioner Cohen.
A couple of things, Stacy, if we still have you with bandwidth going on here. I mentioned it a couple of times. Francis Stevens Park. I know you said that you've finished doing some updating and painting and things, but Francis Stevens Park is in need of a little bit of love. The fountain itself is in pretty rough shape.
Yes.
They know that, so I just wanted to make sure that somehow got into the queue for some work. And
it is in the queue. Fountains are actually repainting of all the fountains right before we get to the summertime. That's always our goal.
Great. And then the other thing too was mentioned at the last meeting, and I didn't want it to fall off because it's more a facilities thing. There are some parks, especially Ruth Hardy, but others that the sprinklers are, for some reason, the timers for them now are in the middle of the afternoon, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's kind of fun to watch everybody scatter and run and scream, but it's probably not the best use of our water resources to be watering at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I just thought I'd mention that as well.
And I know we've had a few flukes. I'm not sure why that's happening. To be honest, we're actually going to have to bring IT in for that. So that's the radio wave system, depending on the park. But as we are, for some of the other parks, we do start watering at 6 or 7 at night because we need the entire evening and overnight just to get through the rotation. Ruth Hardy would be one of them. Muth is another.
I know you know these things well. It's just that people have mentioned it to us, and I wasn't the one who even brought it up last time. I think it was Dieter, and I know Jody's brought it up. That the sprinklers just seem to be oddly timed, and it has caused issues.
And again, we have the control system for the big parks, for all the parks. So just so you guys understand, the city invested a large amount of money years ago into the Chevron project, and that was the system that brought in. Sorry. That was the system that brought in the upgrades so that all of the sprinklers were automated. Part of that automation is it has the smart controller so it can read its own humidity, read its own temperatures, and adjust the watering accordingly. Similar to what, you know, your Rainbird where it shuts off when it's rain. Some of that automatically happens within the smart controls, the parks themselves. So part of that was for water conservation and energy efficiency. I think we've overridden it more often than not, but it does at times default back to what it's supposed to be doing.
Thank you.
Commissioner Crawford?
No, I was giving a thumbs up about the sprinkler times at Ruth Hardy.
Oh, it looks like a hand up to me. Commissioner Lamar?
Yeah, I had a question about the park benches. I know you said they're 6 or 8 weeks away. Does that include the ones for Demuth? Because I remember you told us a month ago that they were, or 2 months ago, that they were ordered and coming in. I'm just curious. I told people that and they're looking for them.
Yeah, just so you know, and I should have shared this initially, it's 16 weeks on average because they have to be manufactured. They're not necessarily something they have waiting around. And right now we're having unique issues actually worldwide because of all the COVID shutdowns of all the manufacturing plants worldwide. We're having a raw material shortage, which we're really struggling to get a hold of concrete, asphalt, steel, some random things. We're not even going to get a couple of our fire apparatus are on delay for the same reason. So a lot of the production and anything that has to be produced or has to be manufactured is going to have probably a longer delay than it normally would. And benches are a long lead time anyway.
Okay, are there anyone else have a question, comment for Director Schaefer? Director Schaefer, Stacy, that was said a while ago about our other director here, and in front of your boss, I'm going to say we love having you around too.
Thanks, Alan.
I love working with you. Now, could we turn to Director Alvarado and ask her to give her staff update from?
Yeah, so I'm gonna jump on Stacy's comment about the delay of some products. I know we had talked about us purchasing a Connex so that the football team would be able to store their practice items while we start the restroom restoration project. I did submit a PO for that. Unfortunately, the company is limited on the Connexes that they have. So it's probably gonna cost me a little bit more money. But we are working on trying to take care of that as we know the project is going to get started soon, but we are trying to wrap that up so that we can take care of the football team and make sure that they're not displaced. And if for some reason the Connex doesn't come in, we'll make some room in the pavilion for them until we can make that purchase. All right, so all of our programming out in the parks is still going on. I am working on my recommendation for Justin to review phase 1 of opening our facilities to the public. So I'm trying to finalize that in the next week or two for him so that he can take a look at it and say, let's move forward with certain things or, what have you. In that, we are also going to be planning for in-person summer camp at James O. Jesse and at the Leisure Center and possibly at Demuth as well, depending on how everything ends up falling into place and the amount of staffing that we have in the registrations as well. So we're going to try to accommodate as many kids as we can with whatever limitations are going to be in place. So that is there. So hopefully in the next, coming weeks, we'll see the job openings for the temporary staff to be recruited so we can really make this program successful coming back from COVID. So we are really excited about that. Let's see, the egg hunts that we held for Easter weekend went really well. We were able to serve over 90 families throughout the Demuth community, the city, and then also Golden Sands. We made sure to get to those areas that aren't normally not remembered, and we wanted to make sure that we were being inclusive in everything we were offering. James O'Jesse's area served about 70 families and had a great turnout. I have lots of great pictures. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to download them to show them to you, so I might try to make a little short video that we post on social media to just kind of wrap that event up and just highlight some of our awesome moments. I believe I have either video or pictures of the Easter Bunny doing a slide somewhere. So let's see, at council last week, there was preliminary budget discussions. We were asking to get some of our funding that we decided to cut during COVID. We asked for it to be reinstated so that we get, begin to really focus those dollars back into the programming as we begin to open up our facilities. In that, so during the COVID times when we were putting a million different proposals together to be looked at as the city was trying to figure out how they were going to move forward so that we could keep as much intact as possible. One of the recommendations that I was asked to put together was, if we needed to cut the skate park contract, what would that look like? Would it be something that we could take over and run? And so the recommendation was, we could move our youth programming team that's located here in the leisure center and the pavilion and move half of it to the skate park so that it could become a teen center, and then the team could also monitor the skate park as well and still provide services to the skate park community. With that, if council decides to entertain that model, it would essentially cost us the same amount of money that we're paying the contract company currently. I do have a meeting with Mark this week so that we can talk about possibilities, so that there's the two options on the table where it's our model that I just talked about, and hopefully he can come up with a model that's similar in providing services, not just the retail center in the skate park facility, because he would like an opportunity to try to hold that contract. So he will be bringing something to the table for review, and then I will move it forward and see, you know, the information that can be presented at council for discussion. There was also the item that was brought forward on behalf of the mayor's request for naming the City Hall Dog Park after Dr. Reddy. I know Travis called in and commented on it, and I did let our city manager know today that we had a subcommittee that was working on a draft. There was a previously created park naming resolution that was created back in 2009. Unfortunately, I was not able to locate that. And so Justin has forwarded that to me today, and I've sent it forward to the committee, and we're going to take a look at it. And then from there, we will connect back with the commission to see how you guys want to move forward in making a recommendation. So that will be coming back for review. And then whatever you guys want to recommend to council, then we will take that forward for them to discuss and review as well, okay? Let's see. That's really all I have. Alan, you're muted.
I just got that notice. Okay. Thank you very much, Director. Some of you have asked how much longer we will be meeting by Zoom, and just to update you, nothing definite yet, but in talking with Councilperson Middleton recently, they're looking at September after our August break, that hopefully we can be back around the big conference table, eye to eye, face to face, and work with each other again. So that's where it is standing at this time. This is just temporary, and I know it's very difficult to do it this way, but that's where we're moving to. Any questions for Director Alvarado on her staff update? Commissioner
This is Travis. I have one. Cynthia, on the skate park issue, I mean, one of the reasons that the city went to this model was because of the huge amount of drinking and illegal drug activity around the skate park. And this contract, one of their selling points was that they would kind of police that. And since we've had them, we haven't had reports, to my knowledge, of the kind of activity. In what you're exploring, is that part of it as well? So we don't go back to one of the problems we're trying to solve with that contract?
So Travis, from my understanding, the facility at the time that all of that was happening didn't really exist. So there wasn't that direct monitoring and coming through the building. So if we end up taking it over, they will have to pay the annual department membership as they do for all of the buildings. And one of the things that we were gonna roll out in 2020 was the scan card, where they'll have to scan and check in when they come into all of the facilities. So it allows us to see who's coming in and out. And with that, if we have any issues, we should be able to directly report that to PD for some assistance. But with bodies physically being there programming the buildings, I don't foresee any increased issues because this wasn't there before.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Any other comments, commissioners?
Dieter Crawford here. That was my question as well. Just with the teen center, how would that work? How would that look? Do you know a little more, or will we find out more later when you know that?
Like as far as the programming, Commissioner Crawford?
Yes, just the hours, as Commissioner Armstrong was saying, will it be open? Will you just be able to walk in and out? I'm not so much concerned about people hanging out there up to no good if the staff is going to be there, but just how accessible will it be, and that kind of stuff. Because a lot of the other skate parks, I know they don't they're open as long as the parks are open from, so I think that kind of hinders our skate park, that it has basically, it closes there with the center there where you have to get through to the entrance.
So the proposal would basically be mirroring the hours that are in place right now. And so part of the proposal, if the city is to take the programming back, would be to hire 2 additional part-timers for the weekend shift. And the hours that are in place right now would be the same thing that we would be offering. With the exception of Saturday and Sunday, there wouldn't necessarily be so much structured programming there, but it would be a drop-in facility for the kids who don't necessarily want to skate but want a place to hang out. That would be available to them.
If you're saying anything to us, Dieter, you're muted. I'll take that as that you are. Okay, you're good. Are there any other comments, questions? If not, we will close our staff update section and we'll move on to our discussion and action items. And our first one is discussion on project updates. And Don, welcome again to our meeting and bring us up to date. Thank you, please.
Great, thank you, Chair Bowley. So our James O. Jesse Gym Floor project, the contract was awarded at the end of March. Our contractor told us that the materials are currently on back order due to the weather issues that caused that Texas power outage. So the place for the rubber base mat material for the flooring told them that it should be about 8 weeks to procure the materials for the flooring system. So that's kind of, like Stacy said earlier, it's kind of, it is a function of materials. Regarding the Pavilion Acoustics project, we are waiting for the final cost estimates for the curtains. Our consultant who is the audio equipment vendor is currently delayed due to medical issues. So we were unable to get, or the consultant was unable to get prices. So once he's back up to speed, we hope to get that moving right away. The shade structures, the contractor is currently procuring the materials and getting their permits. Fabrication is scheduled for late May, and then the installation is likely to begin mid-July. We discussed this with the contractor and let them know that if there are any opportunities to have the installation begin sooner, the city is interested in taking advantage of those opportunities. So to please let us know anything that comes up that can move this along faster, even if it's just to place one location. The city is interested in taking advantage of that. Regarding the park benches at Demuth, I think Stacy gave that update. Regarding playground surfacing, Measure J was approved. The additional funding for the resurfacing of the playground at James O'Jesse, Victoria, and Demuth Park. James O'Jesse or Desert Highland Park and Demuth Park will get the surface tile, and then Victoria Park will get the poured in place product. So we are currently anticipating the second meeting in May to go to council to award those contracts. And again, these contracts were done through a cooperative purchasing program that the city participates in, so that allowed us to get things moving a lot faster. The pavilion entrance landscape, I don't know if you saw, but that work has been complete. And the Ballfield Lighting, we have received one submittal for the design services. Staff is currently reviewing the proposal and it looks pretty good. They are under our budget, as well as partnering with the same lighting company that did the Desert Highland Park ball fields. So that will help out arts and things of that nature. Their proposal says about 2 months to do the preliminary design, and then followed by 3 months for the final design. So those were your priority projects. Some of the other projects at the park, Sunrise Park restrooms, the contractor is working on some pre-construction submittal items that staff is reviewing. Demuth Park and Desert Highland Park restrooms, the architect is supposed to provide us the final set of plans by the end of this week. And we are currently working on the bid specifications to get that project out to bid as soon as we can. With the Demuth Community Center HVAC, the architects submitted all their plans to the building department and are now addressing all of their plan check comments. Again, the air conditioning system was funded through CDBG funds, but in order for that AC system to work, the doors and windows need to be replaced. And also we have doors and windows that need to be replaced to meet current building codes. So the project just got a lot larger than we thought, but the city is plugging through to make sure we can get the AC in the community center. Downtown Park. So the contractor has installed all the palm trees, and we're working to install as much planted material as possible so that the plants can get established before the hot summer months. They're working on items for the event stage, the hardscapes, including sidewalks, sitting areas. They're working on the lighting system, the irrigation system, and the water feature. And we just got a report that we're almost complete with the inside of the police substation. So for that, the contractor indicates that they will be substantially complete about the end of July. I see a comment, is a potential start date for the AC at the Demuth Community Center. We don't have a potential start date. We thought it was going to be fairly soon due to, getting the plan check comments back, but the comments about the doors and windows needs to be replaced. Basically, it was told to us that changing out the AC without changing out the doors and windows, the place would never get cooled. So it's important that we do both at the same time. So that was a new wrinkle that just came up, and our staff is working to figure out how to get this project moving. And that concludes my report on projects at the parks.
Commissioner Diaz, if you unmute and you can begin speaking.
I can begin and probably never end. Listen, Don, I'm not a business person, and I don't claim to be or to understand all of this stuff. But I find it like shocking that we wouldn't have known beforehand about the windows and the doors. I know you just found out. I just find that to be, I'm not really sure. That's super disappointing, and I don't know, that just seems off to me. Not that you're not telling the truth. I just don't understand why we didn't know that. And my second comment or question, I guess, would be just when we start on a project, we've got, sunrise bathrooms and then the JOJ bathrooms. Those were like the two at the top of the list. And I don't know if you're going to tell me because of COVID that it's taking so long. How much longer could it possibly take to draw up the plans and get them approved? Just explain that to me, because in my ignorance, I don't necessarily understand, or I deal with kids all day, and you got to deal with stuff right now and make it happen. So I'm just trying to figure out all of that.
Yeah, so as far as the Sunrise Park restrooms, as well as the, that one has taken considerably longer than staff anticipated. A lot of it had to do with getting the contract signed. The project was complete. It was approved by council. Put out to bid. It was approved by city council. And then just the contract documents going back and forth just took longer than usual, I guess. And it's incumbent of the contractor to provide the necessary documents, insurance, and all the little details. But they did not complete that till late end of March, when we were expecting that in January. So that just took an incredibly long time. Nothing I can say, but they can't start until they have an approved contract. And
do we charge them for the delaying of things, or no?
No.
Oh,
yeah. So that's the honest answer regarding that restroom. The other two restrooms was just, it was just a matter of citing utilities, because yes, we are using the same building design, but the connections for the electrical, the plumbing, the sewer system, they're each unique to each park. And that's basically the last part that the architect is giving us plans for, is those little connections. But as far as like the structural building plans, the look of it, it's all consistent with what we've presented to the commission before. And so with those minor details, we have been working on getting the other two restrooms out to bid. With regards to the windows and the doors, I think, we're dealing with really old buildings. The door widths and window codes back when those buildings were built were a lot different. And we were trying to, in trying to get your priority projects built, we were hoping that they did not need to be replaced. Unfortunately, with the current codes and regulations, as well as fire exits and all that nature, it looks like it's not recommended by our experts that we consult with to do the AC replacement without doing the windows and doors. In their opinion, if we did it during the hot summer months, the buildings would never cool down. And so we could spend the money and not get the desired result. So we are, as staff, looking at it a little deeper.
I'm assuming we're going to try to get both projects going. We're not going to wait until the doors are in before we start the air conditioning. So they'll all be done at once, finally.
Yeah.
No more delays.
So we're trying to just put one big project together to do all of it. So
Commissioner Martin, oh, excuse me, go ahead. Back to Diaz.
I was just gonna say, so could you give me or us any timeline? Are we looking at next year before we get restrooms and the gym and the windows and the doors? Like, I just need to put it in my mind so I get twisted. I'm already twisted about all this. So, and for the public watching, any sort of dates?
I don't have the exact dates for you at this time, but I can definitely discuss with the various contractors and get that to you.
Maybe instead of start dates, we could have completion dates for our next meeting.
That's what I'm asking for. When are we going to actually see some results? That's what I'm asking. And I know you can't say, oh, it's going to be May 15th. I get that. But give us something.
Understood.
Commissioner Lamort, I believe you were asking.
Yeah, I had a question for Don, actually two. We had heard that Maryland was in the downtown park. We had heard that Maryland was going to be placed on Sunday yesterday. It didn't happen. I'm curious when Maryland is coming to downtown. Would you be the appropriate person to know that?
No,
No, he said.
I don't have
covered. That was covered Saturday, Charlie. If you want to go back and look at the tape, council person gave us an update.
I can't know now.
Unfortunately, I don't have that information. I read the same things you read in the Desert Sun. That's the same information that I have is what I read in the regular news. But because that's not a city, quote unquote, a city project that our engineering department would do, we don't really have any information to provide. So it seems like you guys had an update over the weekend from a council member, which would probably have way more information than.
Yeah, Charlie, there's a delay because of the lawsuits that were filed. So we don't have an exact date to when she'll be arriving and
Okay.
she'll be set up.
My other question was, we had kind of a survey on what color should the bathrooms be? And we had 5 different colors and everybody picked a different color. So I'm curious how you're going to handle that. Does every bathroom have to be the same color, or perhaps can the neighborhood decide what color they would like? I'm just curious how that's being dealt with.
I was hoping to get a response from some more of the board members from the Gateway neighborhood, but I will work with Jarvis on getting the rest of that information and then bring that back to the subcommittee so we can move that forward.
Okay, thank you.
Charlie, I didn't mean to put you off on that question of Maryland, but it's something I didn't want to quote it, that the chair said it at the meeting. That's why I didn't want to go into it at this point. But we will all buy our mini bikinis someplace else, I guess. Any other questions for Don?
I see one question from Commissioner Alcorn regarding the rubberized playground surface in the heat and summer. Does the contractor know the heat will react to the bond material? I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure I can bring that up to the contractor. This again was done through a cooperative program. So they do these rubberized playground surfacing all over the country. So we could definitely inquire as far as the heat during the installation, what the optimal temperatures are for that installation, but it's a good point.
Thank you. being a formal commercial contractor, I have some experience, and I just don't want them to apply it and have it peel up within a couple months. You know, it's just I'd rather wait till proper temperatures. But thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you, Don.
Understood.
Any other comments, questions for Don? Again, Don, thank you so much for keeping us informed and up to date on the projects that we've worked on.
Great.
We'll
Thank you,
close
everyone.
that discussion then if there's no other comments. And we will move on to Director Alvarado with her updates on COVID-19 programs.
All right, so I kind of gave you all the updates that I have in regards to COVID, but like I said, I am putting together my proposal to bring forward to Justin so he can review on what will be a safe opening on behalf of the facilities to make sure that we're keeping the public safe while we're trying to open up some of these doors and start offering some of these programs in-house. So at this point, I guess the biggest takeaway that I have for you is I'm going to be sticking to the state guidelines and the recommendations. And at this point, us being in the orange tier, it's at a 25% capacity. I've also reached out to Desert Recreation District to see how they've done their opening to make sure that we're following basically what the, I'm losing my words here, sorry, what the work field in my capacity is doing. So make sure that we're all in line and not just, putting out some off the wall things that nobody else is following. So that is what I will be putting together. And the expectation is not to roll everything out all at once. We want to do it in parts. So we'll really be starting with the programming that can be socially distanced. And then as we move forward with more, less restrictions, you'll see some more of those other programs start to also be offered. I've gotten a few calls from the boxing organization that is at Demuth. And I've offered him, the ability to do conditioning outside, like the rest of my programs have been offered, but he did pass up on that. So at this point, unfortunately, sparring and boxing is not until the yellow tier, which we're still not in just yet. So I will let him know what those boundaries are going to be, and if it's something that he wants to move forward in the meantime with, then we will definitely try to accommodate all of our contractors that we can. But my main priority is making sure that whatever we roll out, we do it safely, because we have to take care of our community. So that's my goal.
Mart, you had your hand up? No? Any other questions for her? If not, let's move on to number 3. I believe the subcommittee for our dog park, Ellen and Travis Armstrong, had a subcommittee meeting, and they are going to give us an update as to what transpired at their last subcommittee meeting. And I apologize, I got my dates mixed up and I didn't get there to join Travis Armstrong.
Hi, everybody. Commissioner Goodman asked me to give a report. So the big issue we're dealing with right now is the ground cover at the dog park. Everyone knows every year we close it for reseeding, which disrupts the community and the dogs and the people, the recreation there. And then often after the reseeding, the turf doesn't look that great. It's expensive and it's not really sustainable. So we talked to our Parks and Rec Commission meeting several months ago about, before we make recommendations, we wanted to talk to the dog park community. So we've had 2 Zoom meetings, which have been not as successful as we wanted. If we feel that's the best way to do our meetings, would be actually go to the dog park. But we have had some people attend our Zoom meetings. And it seems to be the common denominator, everyone thinks it's not really quite working, but they have various reasons why they think it's not working and what they'd like to do. So I think right now we would hope to maybe have another meeting at the dog park and then come back to the commission with some recommendations of what to do. So everything from changing where the grass is right now to areas that can be roped off, things like that. That's pretty much it.
Commissioner Armstrong and Commissioner Goodman, your subcommittee on the dog park is at 2 people, and our commission has grown back. Are you amenable to having a 3rd commissioner join your group?
That'd be great. That'd be great if anyone wants to help out.
I had heard that there was someone that was interested. Is that commissioner still interested? Could I appoint John to that subcommittee? John Morelia will be joining your subcommittee on that. I'm going to write that into my notes. So that's Ellen Goodman, Travis Armstrong are the other 2 on it. Any other questions for Commissioner Armstrong on this subject? Okay, we'll move on to our summary report and discussion on our commission workshop that we had Saturday. And I'm going to go to our Director Alvarado again for what she has gleaned from our facilitator and what discussions we may need or put together for this meeting or next meeting.
All right, so on Saturday, we met with the commission so we could have our annual retreat and talk about, the things that we've accomplished, and also talk about what we want to work on moving forward. So we really focused on putting together a list that is reflective of the path that we've been on. And I have to just say thank you for being a well-rounded commission, not just being hyper-focused in one area of the city, because it definitely makes my job easier. So thank you for that. I did put together.
Excuse me, could I ask Commissioner Armstrong to mute because I'm getting a lot of feedback and I'm missing half of yours. Thank you.
Okay. I put together the results of the information that we collected from the list that the commission developed together. Everybody was asked to select their top 3 and then select their bottom 3. So I split it up so that you can see how everything fell. I think there's only 2 commissioners who I didn't end up getting information from. So if you would like, we can definitely add those on later. But as of today, with what I did end up receiving from those who were not able to attend, this is what it looks like. Let me share my screen so I can walk you through it. Okay. See if I can make this bigger for you. All right, can you see that? Okay, so the top 3, there was a tie between second place for 3 of the selection items that you guys generated. So our very first top 3, our very number 1 item that the commission wanted to focus on that got the most votes is number 4, which was lighting at Demuth and Ruth Hardy Parks. Obviously for several years now, and I don't know for how long, I've only been here for 2, but my entire tenure here, we've had some issues at the ball field and the pickleball court lights and the restrooms. And then obviously the same issues are happening at Ruth Hardy Park. You heard Dawn discuss that they've put out to bid a design for the lighting so that we can begin converting. And now we're having theft issues here in the city. So it'll be interesting to see what this conversation looks like moving forward. Is it going to be just a more wiring conversion, or are we going to try to make go with it for solar so that we can avoid some of these theft issues, right? And then the 3 areas that had the same amount of interest from the commission was number 2, which is the Sunrise Park Master Plan, resurfacing of the City Hall Dog Park, and the study community needs survey, which Justin said he's interested in releasing citywide. So I think that's going to be accomplished relatively quickly, as it's a goal for him to get accomplished, right? So those are the top 3 that were selected for the top 3. And then we were asked to do, well, what would be your next, your bottom three? So for the bottom three, we also had another tie, but the one that was really, the commission was very interested in was the vocational training programs, i.e. work development, internships and trainings at our recreation facilities. So that one was the highest one for the lower three of the priority list that we had started. And then there was a tie between the needs assessment for other parks, Victoria, Francis Stevens, Baristo, the esports program development, the master plan revision for all the parks and recreation projects, and the bathroom upgrades and water fountains that aren't currently being worked on. So those are the results of essentially selection of the your top six, right? So when you take all of that and you put it together, we ended up with 9 items on our list because of the ties. So here they are. So your very first one, your top ranked for this next 2-3 year segment in time is the lighting at Demuth and Ruth Hardy Parks, the Sunrise Master Plan, resurfacing of the dog park at City Hall, the community needs survey, vocational training, the needs assessment for the parks, esports programming, master plan revision, and the bathroom upgrades. So that is what I have to share based off of the work that we all did and that you all did on Saturday. So I'm not sure if you guys want to have further discussion and try to narrow it down to just 6, or if you want to leave it at that 9. You're on mute, Alan. But it looked great.
You read my lips. Do we have any commissioner comments? Questions? Did Commissioner Lamort, did that get you updated as to what we were doing besides talking about you?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Sure, I disagree with some of it, but I voted and I lost, but that's cool.
Join the club.
Exactly.
Are there any other comments? It looks to me like we'll be having to assemble some subcommittees as we move into these different projects in the next. So if there are people that are interested in some of these subjects that we are going to be working on probably in the next couple of years, let me know so that we can start putting our subcommittees together as we move on, because we do have some that will kind of go to the wayside and some that will be moving to the top priorities. But if there are no other questions as to what we did on Saturday, that gives us are you going to send those charts out so that we have those, Director Alvarado?
Yeah, I can email those out to you so that you have for reference points.
Wonderful. If there's no other, Commissioner Morella.
I only have one question. When we met on Saturday, we talked about some of if we're ever questioned by people in the public or this kind of thing, and they say, as a commissioner on the Parks and Recs board, blah, 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 are we going to come up with some sort of talking points around some of this stuff, or are we just free to say what we want and just say, please quote me as John Morelli, a private citizen, not John Morelli, a Parks and Recs Commission? I know that came up, it specifically came up because of the Maryland thing, but.
I think they were going to be developing, and I don't even know what you would call it at this point, but they were going to be talking about what the expectation is on behalf of commissioners across the city, not just ours, on how to be able to answer those questions and what that expectation is as a liaison between the city and the community, right? So, I mean, at this point, these meetings, it's all public information, and you can, easily go back and say, well, we did the study session and this is what we developed. And from there we voted and we took the top 6 and this is what came out from that, because that's obviously a fair process, right? And obviously, anytime you're out there talking to the community, you want to bring that feedback back so that, one, we know that the community's talking to you guys, and that the community it lets the community know that you're sharing that information with us, right? And then at some point, the commission needs to decide, okay, we've been hearing a lot of this. How are we going to move forward in trying to handling it or making a recommendation so that we can figure out how to fix that? But until that other criteria is released with the expectations, that's a difficult question to answer. I know that there's been times where we've had community meetings for grant writing or developing the park for a grant. And there's been commissioners who have attended, but they didn't attend in the commissioner capacity. They attended as a resident. And so they participated in that manner, but they didn't speak on behalf of the commission. And then we've also seen where somebody's been selected on behalf of the commission to speak at council meetings in public comments and give, how the commission feels.
A little difficult, I know, to understand what to say. I usually say, speaking as a resident, this, speaking as commissioner, this is what we're working on right now. It is a little bit difficult, but anything we say sometimes gets construed as coming from the commission, and we do usually try to say as a commissioner or as a resident. Any other questions on that? I would like to then move on from number 4 to number 5, which is our report updates from our ad hoc committees. We've already had our dog park committee update. Do we have any other subcommittee updates? Charlie, you want to bring the rest of them up to date on, and maybe Cynthia has a little bit of information on we were choosing the pallets on our restrooms?
I'll let Charlie.
Ask that question again.
You're chair of that one.
Oh,
Aren't you lead on the restrooms?
I will be. I brag about it, sure.
That's what it says on my list.
I don't know what to say other than Don has given us the information. Some of them have been sent out for bid, and there's still a lot of questions about a lot of stuff. I totally agree with Jody's position. I'm as frustrated as Jody is, without getting too on my high horse or on my soapbox. The first day that I was a commissioner, we talked about bathrooms and we talked about dog parks. 3 years later, we're still talking about bathrooms and dog parks. So my only my only suggestion is you have to have patience to be on this commission because it takes time for things to happen. I know COVID put a lot of things aside, but again, I agree with Jody. Sometimes you pull your hair out. Wait, we talked about this 3 years ago, but it all comes down to where the money's coming from.
Well, just to back on that one, I've been on the commission 5 years. We talked about it 5 years ago also. But we did get a color palette out that came out to our subcommittee. We had a red color palette, a green color palette, a blue color palette, a purple color palette, and there was one more, yellow color palette. And, they all had interest to them. I can see overall some of the comments with purple and the facilities up there blending in where yellow would be awfully bright in the sun, and but these color palettes we did select and vote on them, and Director Alvarado will be turning that back into engineering, so things are moving along there. That's our restroom update, unless anyone has anything else. That would be Jody, you're on there, and Dieter also. Anything from you two? Okay, the swim committee do they have anything? No. The Measure J, we have nothing except they have been wonderful to us and informing us that there will be money for next year's projects. Don't just think that everything can get backburnered. And yes, they did have to increase the money for our what was the playground resurfacing, because it came in a lot higher, went to them last month, and they approved it for the increase, and everything is moving along there. And I want to say that that almost doubled in cost since our original ideas. Pickleball restroom, let's say park naming, that's going to be, I think, something we're going to get into probably in the next couple meetings. And our arts, Jody and Charles, anything on that one that you need? I see nothing.
It's been windy, so Patrick hasn't been able to do anything, but he's planning on bringing forth some more projects for benches.
Okay. Did I miss any, Commissioner Cohen?
I just wanted to, since we're talking about subcommittees, suggest another subcommittee that we may want to consider. And it's partly because we've been so out of the process with the downtown park that I'd like to recommend that we may consider putting together a downtown park subcommittee as it's being finished and put online, and we don't get left out of the whole process as we've been up till now. This may give us some ability to talk about it and not be left out as it comes online. So I just like to throw that out as an idea for a future subcommittee.
David, I think that's a great suggestion. And honestly, I think when we started, I don't know if Travis can remember, but I'm pretty sure we had a subcommittee, but we were bypassed with lots of the decisions that were being made. So that's.
I'm not sure we need to actually be consulted for every decision on engineering and things. It would just simply be a placeholder, or we could ask for briefings, and then we could also make our recommendations, those type of things. And it's one thing to design the park. It's another thing to actually, it will be another one of our parks. It's a city park. And what do we do? So up till now, it's been taken out of our hands.
Yes, we did have a subcommittee, Commissioner Diaz. It was Commissioner Young, myself, Commissioner Craig was on it. We have not met since June of 18. I have been trying to get some kind of feedback, and my text and emails are not being responded to.
Okay.
But I totally agree with Commissioner Cohen that we should probably look at putting something like that together. Now, did you have something else to add, Commissioner Diaz?
No, I'm on a roll today. No, I'm just saying I just feel like we're here, but we're not here. We're not consulted on a lot of the big decisions. So until after the fact, we just need 3 projects in this meeting tonight. So I think we need to be proactive, or we need to be recognized, and if we're not, we need to speak louder.
Well, I hope that when we do have something happen, when we all show up as a group with our new shirts, that Director Alvarado, has anyone picked up their shirt and seen them?
A few.
A few of you. Really nice. And I hope as a group, when we will be able to be noticed more around the city when we go to the function.
Not in navy blue. We're going to blend right in. We need to be hollering.
I mean, I was torn. I was getting ready to order this mustard yellow for you guys, and I just figured you guys would just be so unhappy with my color selection. So I went with a good starter color for now.
Wow.
Okay, this portion of our meeting is set aside for general comments from our commissioners and issues of concern that they would like to see on future agendas, because reminder, we can only speak about things and work on things that are on the agendas. So we'll go around the room and start with, let's see, we have Commissioner Crawford down there on my list. Do you have anything comments that you would like to make as commissioner?
Yeah, I do. Hang on one second. So I just wanted to say that we did 2 events up in Desert Highland Park with Desert X a couple weeks back. We had the artist Serge. He came out and worked with the spring break camp there for the youth, and he did a mask making project with them. And then he also came out on a Saturday and did a live performance of the Water Warrior at the installation there at the park. And then also we did an event with Lift to Rise, a rental assistance event, this past Saturday on the 24th. And we were able to assist about 20 residents with their rental assistance who brought their documentation. And then there was 5 other separate individuals that we're going to follow up with on appointments. And then there were about 5 other folks that came and just got flyers for friends and neighbors and families. So there were a total of 30 people who came by to the rental assistance event and were able to get assisted with rental assistance. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Crawford. Commissioner Armstrong, do you have anything that you comments or suggestions of agenda items?
Yeah, just one thing quickly. At our retreat, the council member talked about development in the north side of town and some possible park set aside. And I really wasn't sure what he was talking about. And I think sometime in the future, if we could have a presentation about what that entails. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Alcorn, do you have anything that you would like to mention?
No, I'm good. I've already worked it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cohen.
I am good, thank you. Just thank you as always to the great staff.
Commissioner Lamar.
I just want to welcome John, and I really encourage you to join a subcommittee. You really once you get your feet into it and you'll see what we really do. I mean, this was a very good meeting, I think, for you to see. We get into the nuts and bolts of how the parks work. I mean, from lights to bathrooms. So I encourage you to don't be shy. Become on an ad hoc committee, because actually that's the fun part of being a commissioner. So welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Lamar. Commissioner Diaz.
Yeah, I was just going to report as well. I attended the live, I don't know what, the live performance of the artists up in the James O'Jessy Desert Highland Unity Center Park from with the Desert X exhibit, and that was amazing. The crowd that came was quite diverse, which was great to see. And he had stayed, you know, the artist had to help the kids make the masks. So in the community, that was really cool. Just my concerns of us taking the restrooms out of the parks, and I know that they've been. He says that I know they've had a sewage issue. I'm down there twice a week. I'm not aware of any vandalism there, but I'm wondering where those trailers are going to go next, and what are we going to do in the meantime, in terms of, you know, having facilities for folks to use. And as always, I appreciate everybody's efforts and answers, and I know that there aren't always answers, but if we don't ask and we don't continue to push, it's not going to get done. So that's my 2 cents tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And our new commissioner, Commissioner Morales. Do you have any comments, suggestions, or future agenda items that you'd like for us to address?
I just want to say I do feel really welcomed by all of you. I do appreciate you sort of helping me learn how this stuff works, because obviously I'm new. So like when some of these staff people came on and gave reports, I was like, I don't know who these people are other than Cynthia, who I just met on Saturday. So now I know who 2 of these people are, which is helpful. But I'm open to learning. As you know, I already said I wanted to be on the dog subcommittee, so I am. And I wonder if we ever look at anything that revolves around sustainability. Like we talked about having solar lights. Do we get involved in that, or is that sort of like an engineering department? Like how does that?
So on occasion, Patrick will come over and say he has a project for us to partner up on. He's been here a few times, but he's also new. And yes, it is a possibility.
Okay. Because I call it earthy crunchy like that. You know, like I'm the dude who's recycling everything and all that stuff. I am that guy.
Historically, the Sustainability Commission had a liaison with commissions. So there used to be liaisons for both different commissions. And I don't know where that went, but that was the history for about 10 years.
I have to go back and look and see who our liaison was at one time. I do recall we had that. Something we will discuss and see if we need to reappoint some of those. I take it that's all you have to add to it?
Yep, that's it.
I don't know whether our city manager Clifton is still hearing us. Yes, I see he is. I want to thank you for attending with us today. And as always, we look forward to hearing from you, and you'll be hearing from us, I'm sure.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
If there are no other comments or statements to be made by any commissioners at this point, I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn our meeting. Commissioner Lamort has made the motion to adjourn, and a second by Commissioner Diaz. All in favor? I would like to adjourn this meeting to our next regular scheduled meeting, May 24th, 2021, again by Zoom. Thank you very much for attending. Have a good evening.